The 1800s may bring to mind tales of the Wild West, but they also had a rich variety of delicious dishes that have faded into history. With a hearty appetite and a passion for forgotten flavors, let's take a journey through the cuisine of the 1800s. Indian pudding. Indian pudding was a staple in early American kitchens, a slow-cooked dessert that combined cornmeal, milk, molasses, and spices into a warm, comforting treat. Indian pudding has deep roots in colonial America and is one of the oldest known desserts in New England. Its origins date back to the early days of European settlement, when Native American techniques and ingredients, especially the use of cornmeal, greatly influenced the colonists' cooking. In that golden age, every ingredient was treasured, and even the simplest pantry staple could be transformed into a dish bursting with warmth and memory. The pudding's custard-like consistency and robust flavor carried hints of nutmeg and cinnamon, evoking memories of cozy nights and community gatherings. Today, this recipe stands as a reminder that even humble ingredients, when treated with love, can be elevated to create a masterpiece reminiscent of the good old days. Time and again, cooks would adapt the recipe based on what was at hand. Some added a dash of clove or allspice, while others preferred a thicker consistency by simmering it longer. Each variation was like a handwritten note in a treasured family recipe book, a relic in a photo album of cherished memories. The tradition of Indian pudding, passed down through generations, encapsulates the spirit of retro recipes that defined an era long faded into history. Ragu of mutton. Ragu of mutton was a hearty stew that graced many a farmhouse table. Ragu's roots can be traced back to French cuisine, with the term ragu itself deriving from the French word ragoûter, meaning to revive the taste. Made from tender pieces of mutton slowly simmered with root vegetables and fragrant herbs, this dish epitomized the resourcefulness of 19th century cooks. In an age when every part of the animal was valued, mutton, often considered a humble meat, was transformed into a lavish, savory stew that was both nourishing and comforting. The slow cooking process allowed the flavors to meld, creating a broth that was rich in taste and history. The aroma of simmering mutton and vegetables would waft through the house, invoking memories of family dinners in the good old days. The legacy of ragu of mutton reminds us that even in times of scarcity, culinary creativity flourished, and simple ingredients were elevated to an art form. Corn Dodger. Corn Dodger was a simple yet ingenious cornbread variant, popular among families living on the frontier. The very name, Corn Dodger, brings to mind a time when every bite was a challenge of balancing textures and flavors. Cooks used cornmeal, water, and sometimes a touch of lard to create a bread that was pleasantly dense with a slightly crunchy exterior. Often served alongside stews and soups, these rustic morsels absorbed the savory juices of accompanying dishes, adding a layer of comforting simplicity to every meal. On long, sun-dappled afternoons, families would gather around a wooden table, enjoying freshly baked corn dodgers that had been lovingly prepared by a resourceful cook. Their hearty texture and rustic flavor were a testament to the ingenuity of early Americans, who took pride in turning even the simplest ingredients into culinary treasures. Today, as we rediscover corn dodger in our modern kitchens, we celebrate its place in our history, an enduring reminder of the retro recipes that once defined the golden age of home cooking. Calf's foot jelly. Calf's foot jelly is a dish that tells a story of resilience and resourcefulness. In the United States and even across the Atlantic in Europe, what was once considered a typical farmstead food became a sign of having a more sophisticated palate. One of the biggest differences between the US and the UK in the 1800s was the approach to offal, the least desirable parts of the animal. By slowly simmering the feet of the calf, cooks extracted all the precious gelatin, turning what many would have discarded into a culinary treasure. In kitchens where every scrap mattered, calf's foot jelly was not merely a means of staving off hunger. It was thought to have rejuvenating qualities, with many believing it could fortify the immune system. A dish once featured in memorable cookbooks like The Virginia Housewife, calf's foot jelly was often made for as little as 10 cents. Its preparation was a labor of love, where the process of slow simmering unlocked deep, savory flavors that could be spread on bread or used to enhance other dishes. The recipe remains a striking example of how retro recipes from the good old days were born from necessity yet achieved extraordinary flavor and nutritional value. Salt-rising bread. Salt-rising bread is one of those enigmatic recipes that puzzled even the most skilled bakers of the past. Unlike typical yeast-based breads, salt-rising bread relies on a natural fermentation process that produces a loaf with a distinctive tang, a true marvel of 19th century ingenuity. Baked in wood-fired ovens, this bread developed a crisp, golden crust and a dense yet airy interior that left a lasting impression on those lucky enough to taste it. The name salt-rising hints at its mysterious origins, a process as delicate and unpredictable as nature itself. In rural communities, families treasured this bread as a symbol of independence and self-reliance, embodying the spirit of an era when every meal was a labor of love. Despite the challenges of mastering its unusual leavening process, those who succeeded were rewarded with a flavor that transported them back to a time when every meal was celebrated. Salt-rising bread remains a favorite among enthusiasts of retro recipes, a delicious reminder of a golden age of culinary experimentation. Syllabub. Syllabub was a delightful frothy dessert drink that captured the essence of 19th century indulgence. Often prepared by whipping cream with wine or cider and sweetened with sugar and a dash of lemon juice, syllabub was both refreshing and decadently light. Imagine a genteel parlor where elegantly dressed ladies sip tiny cups of this tangy treat during after-dinner conversations, their laughter mingling with the soft strains of a piano in the background. The magic of syllabub lay in its transformation of ordinary ingredients into an elegant, effervescent dessert. Each sip carried a balance of creaminess and acidity that evoked memories of refined gatherings and leisurely afternoons. This dessert drink not only tantalized the palate, but also captured the very spirit of the good old days, a time when every detail in a meal was an expression of art. Today, syllabub stands as a testament to the creative flair of past cooks, inviting us to experience a taste of a golden age long faded into history. Brown Windsor soup. Brown Windsor soup was once a fixture in refined households, its very name evoking images of stately manners and elegant dinner parties. This robust soup combined a rich beef stock with an assortment of vegetables and herbs, all slowly simmered to extract every bit of flavor. Its deep, inviting color came from a blend of caramelized onions, tomatoes, and a touch of vinegar that balanced the savory notes with a subtle tang. In an era when soups were considered both a meal and an art form, Brown Windsor soup was a masterpiece that bridged the gap between humble farm fare and the sophisticated culinary traditions brought over from Europe. Every spoonful was a nod to a time when meals were celebrated as communal events, where each ingredient was treated with care. The slow-cooked flavors of Brown Windsor soup create a vivid portrait, a photo album of tastes from the golden age of home cooking, where every bowl was a celebration of heritage and community. Frizzled beef. Frizzled beef might sound peculiar by today's standards, but back in the 1800s, it was a dish that ignited the culinary imagination. The term frizzled referred to the technique of lightly frying strips of beef until they turned delightfully crisp around the edges while remaining tender inside. This method added texture and burst of flavor to hearty stews, or even stood proudly on its own as a main course. In many rural households, frizzled beef was born out of a desire to use every available cut of meat, no matter how modest. The sizzling sound of beef hitting a hot cast-iron skillet, followed by the rich aroma of caramelized meat, evoked memories of bustling kitchens and family gatherings where every bite was savored. This dish epitomized the resourcefulness of the good old days, turning even an ordinary cut into a culinary celebration. A true tribute to the retro recipes that have now faded into history, yet continue to inspire modern cooks. Oyster pie. Oyster pie was a dish that celebrated the close relationship between coastal communities and the ocean's bounty. In the 1800s, oysters were abundant and affordable, making them a popular ingredient for pies that combined savory and satisfying flavors. The filling, a medley of fresh oysters, herbs, and sometimes a rich, creamy sauce, was encased in a flaky pastry that bound the diverse flavors together with a golden crust. This pie was more than just a meal. It was a culinary bridge between the land and the sea, a tribute to the adventurous spirit of fishermen and coastal families. Each bite of oyster pie told a story of maritime tradition and resourcefulness, capturing the essence of a time when every meal was a carefully curated experience. Today, oyster pie stands as a reminder of the golden age of cooking, a photo album of flavors that, despite having faded into history, still inspire chefs to celebrate the past with every dish they prepare. Seed cake. Seed cake was a modest yet deeply cherished treat in 19th century households. Composed of simple ingredients, flour, sugar, eggs, and a generous sprinkling of caraway or poppy seeds, this cake was baked to a light, moist perfection. Often served with a cup of tea on a lazy afternoon, seed cake embodied the gentle charm of home baking. Its subtle sweetness, accented by the delightful crunch of seeds, provided a quiet indulgence that felt both comforting and nostalgic. Families took pride in passing down the recipe through generations, each cook adding a personal twist that made the dish unique. A treasured page in a photo album of retro recipes. Seed cake wasn't just a dessert, it was a symbol of simpler times, a reminder that the golden age of home cooking was built on small, heartfelt traditions. Every slice carried the warmth of familial love and the timeless joy of shared moments around the table. Ciderkin. Ciderkin was a warm, spiced beverage that brought a burst of autumnal flavor to chilly evenings. Brewed from the dregs of pressed apples, this rustic drink was enhanced with aromatic spices like cinnamon and cloves, and sweetened with a touch of honey or molasses. In the 1800s, ciderkin was a clever way to utilize every part of the apple harvest, transforming what might have been a byproduct into a drink that warmed both heart and soul. Often enjoyed by laborers after long days in the orchards, ciderkin was a simple pleasure that celebrated the bounty of the season. Its comforting warmth and complex spice profile made it a symbol of ingenuity and frugality in a time when every ingredient counted. Today, ciderkin stands proudly among retro recipes, a delicious reminder of an era when every sip was a tribute to nature's abundance and the enduring spirit of the good old days. Swedish meatball. Originating in the kitchens of Sweden centuries ago, Swedish meatballs have evolved from a regional specialty into a global comfort food. Swedish meatballs, with their tender texture and aromatic blend of ground meats, have long been celebrated as a symbol of comfort and tradition. These savory morsels were meticulously seasoned with hints of nutmeg and allspice, then gently fried to perfection before being enveloped in a rich, creamy sauce. Served with lingonberry jam or a dollop of gravy, Swedish meatballs became a cherished dish at family gatherings and festive celebrations, echoing the spirit of the good old days when every meal was crafted with care and love. Potted meat. Potted meat was a method of preserving and savoring meat that might otherwise spoil during harsh winter months. The process involved cooking the meat slowly in its own fat and seasonings, then packing it into a pot and sealing it with a layer of fat. This clever technique not only preserved the meat, but also concentrated its flavor into a rich, savory spread that could be enjoyed on bread or as a complement to other dishes. In an age before modern refrigeration, potted meat was a practical solution that combined resourcefulness with culinary delight. Each jar or pot was like a little time capsule, preserving the flavors of a bygone era when every ingredient was respected. Passed down as a closely guarded secret from one generation to the next, potted meat was a reminder of the golden age of home cooking, a tradition that, although it may have faded into history, still speaks to the ingenuity and heart of early American kitchens. Codfish balls. Codfish balls were a creative twist on seafood, born out of necessity and a spirit of culinary adventure. In coastal communities where cod was abundant, cooks ingeniously mixed flaked fish with herbs, breadcrumbs, and a perfect blend of spices. The resulting mixture was formed into balls and lightly fried until a golden crust emerged, while the inside remained tender and flaky. This innovative dish was celebrated for its versatility, served on its own with a tangy dipping sauce or as a delightful addition to a robust chowder. Each bite of a codfish ball was a delicious fusion of flavors, capturing the essence of the sea and the resourcefulness of those who made it. It was a dish that spoke to the beauty of retro recipes, transforming what might have been a simple catch into a culinary marvel. The legacy of codfish balls is a reminder that even the most ordinary ingredients can become extraordinary in the hands of creative cooks. Split pea soup. Split pea soup was a hearty, filling dish that warmed both the body and soul on chilly evenings. Split pea soup has deep roots in European and early American cuisine. Its origins lie in the resourcefulness of peasant cooks who relied on dried peas as an economical and long-lasting source of nourishment during harsh winters. Made from dried split peas, a medley of vegetables, and often a hint of smoked ham, this soup was slowly simmered to create a thick, savory broth. Its simple yet robust flavor captured the essence of a time when every ingredient was treasured, and even the most modest pantry staple could be transformed into a meal full of character. The comforting aroma of split peas, mingling with herbs and spices, evoked memories of long family dinners in the good old days, when the kitchen was the heart of the home. Plum duff. Plum duff was a steamed pudding that showcased the abundance of fresh fruit available during the harvest season. This dessert combined chopped plums with a batter made from flour, eggs, and warming spices, then was slowly steamed to create a dense yet tender pudding. Often served with a drizzle of sweet sauce or a pat of butter, plum duff provided a sumptuous finale to a hearty meal. In family kitchens of the 1800s, plum duff was a festive treat, a dish that captured the vibrant colors and flavors of summer's end. The steaming process filled the kitchen with a mesmerizing aroma, inviting everyone to gather around and share in the delight. This pudding was more than just a dessert. It was a celebration of nature's bounty, a true reflection of the golden age when every dish told a heartfelt story. Plum duff remains an emblem of retro recipes, a delicious reminder of a time when every ingredient was cherished and every meal was an event. Baked pineapple ham. Baked pineapple ham is a delightful marriage of savory and sweet, a dish where succulent ham is glazed with a vibrant, tangy pineapple topping. This recipe became a centerpiece at festive gatherings, capturing the joyful spirit of celebrations with its bold flavors and eye-catching presentation. The smoky richness of the ham, enhanced by the tropical burst of pineapple, tells a story of culinary innovation. A dish that combines tradition with an exotic twist reminiscent of a time when every holiday meal was a grand celebration of life and flavor. Although baked pineapple ham might seem modern, its origins trace back to mid-20th century American holiday traditions. As families looked for ways to bring novelty to their festive feasts, the idea of combining a classic ham with a tropical pineapple glaze emerged as a creative solution. Black butter. Black butter may sound mysterious, but it was a beloved ingredient in many 19th century recipes. By simmering regular butter until it turned a rich, nutty brown, cooks created a complex condiment that was both savory and subtly sweet. This transformation not only deepened the flavor of the butter, but also unlocked a depth that could elevate any dish it touched. Used to enrich sauces, spread on freshly baked bread, or drizzled over vegetables, black butter carried with it the warmth of long-cooked meals and the innovation of a bygone era. In an age where every ingredient was a treasure, black butter symbolized the art of transformation in the kitchen, a true relic from the golden age that continues to inspire modern chefs to experiment with flavors that have faded into history. Tomato jam. Tomato jam is a recipe that might surprise modern palates, yet in the 1800s it was a delightful blend of savory and sweet. Fresh tomatoes were simmered with onions, vinegar, and a medley of spices until they reduced into a thick, rich jam. This unexpected condiment could be spread on bread or used to add a tangy accent to stews and meat dishes. The process of making tomato jam was a labor of love, where cooks experimented with flavors to capture the essence of the summer harvest. Every spoonful of this jam was a celebration of innovation and the resourcefulness of early home cooks, an invitation to taste the magic of retro recipes from the good old days. Tomato jam remains a vivid reminder that culinary creativity can transform the ordinary into something extraordinary, preserving a legacy that still lives on in our collective food history. Flapjacks. Flapjacks of the 1800s were not the light breakfast treats known today, but rather hearty baked oat bars designed to provide quick, energy-packed sustenance for hard-working families. Made from simple ingredients such as oats, butter, and a touch of sweetener, these baked delights emerged golden and slightly chewy, perfect for fueling long days on the farm or at the bustling market. The humble flapjack was a snack that celebrated the ingenuity of resourceful cooks. Its straightforward recipe, combined with careful baking, resulted in a treat that was both nourishing and utterly satisfying. In every bite of these flapjacks was the spirit of a time when meals were prepared with passion and shared with love. A time captured like a cherished snapshot in a photo album of culinary memories from the golden age. Spotted Dick. Despite its cheeky name, Spotted Dick was a much-loved steamed pudding made from sweet and dried fruits, such as raisins or currants. Its distinctive spots lent the dessert its name, and its dense, moist texture made it an incredibly comforting dish. Traditionally served with a generous ladle of warm custard, Spotted Dick was a dessert that bridged the gap between indulgence and simplicity. In Victorian parlors, this pudding was both a conversation piece and a comfort food, embodying the spirit of home cooking during the 1800s. Every serving of Spotted Dick evoked memories of family gatherings and festive celebrations, a true culinary relic from a time when every ingredient was carefully cherished. Its enduring appeal is a testament to the legacy of retro recipes, each bite a reminder of a simpler, more heartfelt era that has faded into history but remains vivid in our culinary photo album. Apple tansy. Apple tansy was a dish that celebrated the crisp, tangy flavor of locally grown apples in a way that was both rustic and refined. In the 1800s, apples were a seasonal treasure, and cooks would prepare this dish by baking apples with a blend of spices, sugar, and a hint of citrus. The result was a beautifully balanced creation where the fruit softened and melded with the spices, creating a warm, aromatic dish perfect as either a side or a dessert. Apple tansy was more than just a recipe. It was a seasonal ritual that marked the transition of harvest and the onset of cooler weather. Each bite carried the natural sweetness of the apple and the subtle spice of the era, reflecting a time when meals were celebrated as events. This dish is a true marker of the golden age of culinary craftsmanship, a retro recipe preserved like a precious page in a photo album of flavors that speak to the heritage of the good old days. Thank you for joining us on this journey through a cherished culinary photo album of retro recipes. If you enjoyed this exploration of the golden age of cooking and the good old days when every dish told its own story, please subscribe to our channel, like this video, and share it with fellow food enthusiasts. Your support helps keep these forgotten recipes alive, ensuring that the legacy of the 1800s continues to inspire future generations. Don't forget to comment below with your favorite dish from our collection, and let's celebrate this rich history together.